Hello and welcome to the Daily Meal for Wednesday the 10th of September 2025. In today's Millwall news, we have a trio of interviews from the Southwark News, which publishes tomorrow. So if you see it in the shops, pick up a copy. Why not? What are you waiting for? So this is, as I said, southwarknews.co.uk is the website. Give them a go and have a little look and see what you can see on there. There's lots of interesting stuff. So Mill captain Jake Cooper excited for Charlton Derby and reflects on changing dressing room. Mill captain Jake Cooper is eager to lead the Lions into this weekend's South London derby against Charlton Athletic. The Lions travel to the Valley on Saturday, September the 13th to renew their rivalry with the Addicts after they spent the previous 5 seasons in League One. Cooper has experience of excelling at Charlton, netting the winner as Mill emerged 1-0 victors in their last clash at the stadium in 2020. I think that was in July. I think that was without a crowd. Oh, it's a great occasion for the club and the fans, Cooper told News at Den. I just enjoy being involved in those sort of moments, where there's a big turnout with the crowd. It means a lot to the fans, it's just nice to be involved in that and have that pressure on our shoulders to go and produce for the supporters. That's what I relish, a great week with the London derbies all week is going to be fantastic, and hopefully we can just put on a performance that the fans can be proud of and they can enjoy themselves watching us. There's going to be some atmosphere, I'm sure, at the Valley on Saturday, and it's certainly one to look forward to because of how the fans feel about it, and that's why it's such an exciting fixture for us. Cooper will step out onto the pitch on Saturday wearing a captain's armband, a role he held for much of last year, but one he has taken on full-time after Sean Hudson left the club as a free agent in June. Hudson was among several senior players to depart in the summer, alongside George Saville, Murray Wallace, George Honeyman and Duncan Watmore. There have been a lot of changes in the squad. A lot of the senior boys have moved on. So it was a different role for me. I have a lot more conversations with the manager now, and I'm involved a lot more in decisions that we make moving forward. But I know I'm there to play football and do my job on the pitch on Saturdays, which is the main thing. We've got a really solid group of players in the changing room again, obviously helped by the senior players like Lenny and Joe Bryan and people like Massimo coming in. It's been big for the group. We've had a great pre-season. Our form was really good. We've had good performances. A couple of results we would have liked to have been better, but I think we're in a really good place. There have been further player departures since June, with Mill's player of the season for 24-25 defender Japhet Tanganga sold to Sheffield United late last month. Cooper and Tanganga were one of the league's best centre-back duos last season, with the Lions conceding the 7th fewest goals in the division. Mill signed 22-year-old centre-back Caleb Taylor from West Bromwich Albion to reinforce the position, while January signing Tristan Crammer would also be capable of partnering Cooper in the heart of defence. His favoured position before injury shifted him to right-back early on in his Lions tenure, where he has excelled. Cooper hopes to build a new formidable partnership at the back. I think we saw it kind of coming with Japhet, Cooper said. There was obviously a lot of press about his release clause, and we thought that this summer was probably the time that he might move on, and he deserved that with his performances last season, and the season before. And we're obviously moving on, and Tristan has been a great addition, as we saw last year, and I played a few games with him last season in the centre of defence, and he took to that role really well. He's a great lad as well. I really enjoyed playing next to him, and I enjoy his company off the pitch, and I'm hopeful we'll have a partnership there, as well as Caleb coming into that. I'm still getting to know him, but he looks like a really nice lad, and I've heard really good things about him from people like Jed at West Brom. And we're just trying to build that relationship between the guys that are there now and move on from Japhet being there. So there you go. Let's move on. Exactly. Let's move on to this, which is an interview, as mentioned, with the Southwark News and Joe Bryan. That's Joe Bryan. There's been a learning curve for me. Mill's Joe Bryan, returning from injury, stepping into more of a leadership role and the importance of winning the derby this weekend. Joe Bryan has endured a frustrating past 5 months. Playing some of the best football of his career, the veteran left-back was ruled out of Mill's final 4 matches last season with a knock as the Lions took their playoff charge to the final day. Bryan watched from the sidelines as his side fell just short of Turf Moor on May the 3rd and missed most of pre-season after featuring in the first friendly against Crystal Palace on July the 12th. The soon-to-be 32-year-old made his return to the first team last month, playing the first half of Mill's 2-1 win against Coventry City in the EFL Cup second round, and 4 days later he was a 73rd minute substitute as the Lions lost 2-0 to Wrexham. Bryan expects it will take more time to get back to full match fitness. It's going to be difficult. I'm going to take me a while to build up my match minutes, Bryan told Nizzaden. The international break came at a good time, and there's a friendly that I managed to play 75 minutes in. And I played 45 against Coventry and 30 against Wrexham just before the break. So I have had the opportunity to build up my minutes, even though losing pre-season is upsetting. I think psychologically I'm older now and I can deal with it, and I can sensibly build my way back in, whereas when I was probably younger, it affects you a little bit more. And I think it's easier as an older player to manage the way you play, so you're not charging around like a crazy person at all times. And you're just being a bit more sensible, maybe with your position and things like that, and allowing myself the opportunity to build up my fitness and my strength again. 2 minutes after being substituted on against Wrexham, Bryan demonstrated some of the qualities that had made him so instrumental to the Lions last season. Playing a defence-splitting ball that put Mihailo Ivanovic in behind, whose header from a tight angle flashed across the goal. Bryan felt comfortable back on the pitch. It's the first time I've been involved in a match day squad since I think Middlesbrough at home in April or late March. And it had definitely been a while, and it was one of those where, I played so much now that you go in and as soon as you're on the pitch, you feel comfortable. And a game with the manager, he tells you exactly what he wants from you. There's no discrepancy in going on the pitch and being unsure of what's required. So it makes everything a lot simpler and a lot easier to manage. While he's been off the pitch, a lot has changed at Millwall. Veterans of the football club have left, while the Lions have signed 11 players this summer. 11 players! And how many of them are injured? It's a transition, and it's the way that football's going now. It's naturally going to be probably more like that. We lost some very key senior players in the dressing room, and the manager made it very clear to the senior players that are left that we need to carry on what they built in terms of culture and the way things are done here. So I think that's been good, and that's been a learning curve for me. That's something that I've wanted to do, and I was lucky enough to be captain the other day against Coventry. And it's nice to be stepping into more of a leadership role, and I think it's natural with age. And hopefully, I can help and guide the younger players in making that transition into fully fledged championship players. One of those signings is Zach Sturge, who first joined the Lions on loan for the second half of last season, serving as Bryan's understudy until he picked up an injury. The young left-back's 4-game cameo was impressive enough that the club opted to sign him permanently in the summer, and Sturge continues to play with both Bryan and fellow summer signing Alfie Doughty out injured. Bryan enjoys the responsibilities of being a mentor. I feel like, if there are two similar age players in a similar position, then there's sometimes a bit of tension. But with me and Zach, it's very clear that Zach's going to be a top player, and I want to help him become the best player that he can possibly can. I'm 32 next week, so I'm not going to be playing forever. For me now, it becomes I want to play every single minute of every single game. But if I can add to the club off the pitch as well by helping develop the players, then that's the way of being a valuable senior player and not just on the pitch. I want to help him develop and make him into the best player possible, and he's an incredible young player and he's got everything it takes to play in the championship every single week, and it's up to me to show him that. And if I'm playing, show him things, and if he's playing, help him. And there's no ego attached to, Zach's going to be playing the games ahead of me now. I played a lot of games, I'm comfortable in the player that I am, and I think building on those leadership qualities, being able to help younger players develop. While Bryan missed the final 4 games of the previous season, he was ever present as Millwall won 5 of the 7 games leading up to his injury, a stretch where the Lions reeled in the playoff chasing pack. The left-back thinks that near miss will provide extra motivation later on in the season, but is focused on the South London derby away at Charlton Athletic this weekend. We want to push into the top 6, and put the big games that we should win to bed. Every team says this every year. You know what the championship's like. It's very difficult to see anything until sort of March. Our focus now is on Saturday against Charlton, and we know it's a massive local derby, and we know that it means very much everything to the fans, and we have to take that with us into the game and understand what it means to the fans. It is only 3 points at the end of the day, but it means a lot more to those who support us and those who really, really love this club. So I think the longer view of the season is definitely, we want to get better what we did last season, where we just missed out, and we want to get in there and make a go of it. But the short-term view is we focus on a game at a time, and the game this weekend is massively important. We're really excited. These are games that as a player you want to play in, and these games mean the most to the fans, and the games with a little bit more of an edge are always the games that you enjoy more. I asked if this was a fixture you'd been looking out for when they were released in late June. Bryan said, it's an exciting game. Not to play on the experience card too much, but as you get older, you don't really look at the fixture list too much. There are fixtures in the calendar that you definitely get a little bit more excited for, and playing away at a local rival is one of those that gets you a little bit going. So there you go, Joe Bryan. Now, I bet you didn't expect this, because here we go. Third interview of the day from Southern News. They've been very busy talking to a lot of people. They've been speaking to Dennis Wise. Dennis Wise, remember him? He's only 5'4". He'll, you know what to your jaw. Dennis Wise backs Alex Neil to lead Millwall into the playoff race and thinks transfer model will pay dividends. Well, we do hope so, don't we? We do hope so. Ex-Millwall boss Dennis Wise backs Alex Neil to have the Lions competing for the playoffs this season and thinks the club's new transfer model can help him accomplish that. Millwall nearly achieved the top 6 finish last season, just 4 months into Neil's tenure, but fell just short away at Centurions Burnley on the final day of the campaign. It was always going to be a tough ask, wasn't it? It was always going to be a tough ask. And, we thought we had done it when we scored first, but, how long did that last? 1 minute? They scored straight from the kickoff, so they couldn't even give us a couple of half a game to dream. Couldn't even give us that, straight away they scored. Though it probably should have been a foul on Ashley Barnes. Ashley Barnes. The Lions have had a mixed start to the season, winning all 3 of their away games and progressing to the third round of the EFL Cup for the first time since 2022, but losing both league games at home. They currently sit 12th, but with 42 league games left in the season, and have their sights set on competing for a playoff spot. Wisey knows what it takes to succeed at Millwall. Appointed player manager in October 2003. That's a long time ago now, isn't it? 22 years ago. Gosh. Jolly gosh. He guided the club to their first FA Cup final, first and only FA Cup final, in 2004. The following season, he led them into Europe for the first time, losing 4-2 on aggregate to Ferencváros in the UEFA Cup first round, and also oversaw a 10th place league finish before stepping down in May 2005. And there's a little story there about that game. He sat down for an exclusive interview with Sky Bet, but where he answered 3 questions that were submitted by News at 10. Millwall have adopted a sustainable transfer model that has seen them recruit a lot of young, talented players. Do you think that's a viable way for them to achieve their goal of competing for the playoffs? And Dennis Wise said, Millwall's sustainable transfer model can help them achieve the playoffs. You only have to look at what Chelsea are implementing to see the model, and maybe it can be done in the Championship as well. There's nothing wrong with investing in young players. They brought in Mihailo for around 2.8 million. Coburn as well for 5 million. Kundal from 1 million from Wolves, along with others. These are all young lads with huge potential. Alex Neil, as a coach, really enjoys working with younger players. He's more of an on-the-field coach, someone who likes to develop and improve players. But some managers prefer handling older, experienced players, while others thrive on developing younger ones. They've got a solid strategy going forward, with Alex Neil at the helm. And he'll do extremely well for them. Next question, question 2. Alex Neil has overseen an impressive improvement in form since being appointed in January. Do you think he's well suited to Millwall and the club's unique environment? Alex Neil's shown before that he can guide young squads into playoff spots with both Norwich and Sunderland. So there's no reason to think he can't do it again. Of course, It does put more onus on him to deliver and manage the team. They haven't started brilliantly this season, sitting 12th, but the goal will be to climb and to push for the playoffs. Alex is very honest, both in how he speaks and how he comes across. Players will respond to that. He's already got a strong track record, about 500 games he's managed, and he's got a win ratio of around 42%, which is, that's really good. And considering he's only been in this role for 9 months, you've got to give him time to fully implement his ideas. Third question. It's been a bit of a mixed bag to start the season. Do you see Millwall competing for the top 6 come next April or May? Well, I'd like to think Millwall will be competing for the top 6 come next April, May. They've always been around up there or thereabouts, but just haven't taken that big step forward. I've got to say, though, they spent money. They've had the ability to do that. So now it's about pushing that little bit further. And the next step is making sure they get into the playoffs and really give themselves a chance to go up. Indeed. So that would be good. Certainly would be good, wouldn't it? Like I said as well, if we do get in the playoffs and we get to the playoff final, even if we lose it, that happened. Well, we had to come up to the championship doing that. We got to the playoff final, we lost it, we came back the following season, we won it. The amount of money that would generate to do that, that will help take the pressure off having to sell a player or two to balance the books, which is how it's going now. So, if Ivanovic wants to stay another year, get us in the playoffs, and that might help him stay another year. So, we're moving on to this. This is the squad list and under 21 registered contract players. 25-26, it's been updated, it's been published today. I believe it was today or earlier. Recently, it was announced. It may have been published earlier, but they just told us today on the EFL website. Because obviously the transfer window closed on the 1st of September. So now all of the clubs are locked in with the amount of players they have and other under 21 players. So we will go. Where are we going? If I click on that, I can't see it. Okay, well that's great. Okay, we're gonna have to go down. I think it's round about here. We're gonna go and look at Millwall's squad list, which I believe is coming up. It's after Middlesbrough. We're always after Middlesbrough, aren't we? In the FA Cup third round draw, it's always Middlesbrough and then Millwall. So here we go. Millwall's in squad players. So you are only allowed to have 25 players registered. We have 24. We are only allowed to get one more player. So January transfer window. Don't expect any big things, but we are allowed seemingly an unlimited amount of under 21 players, whether they come through your own youth academy or someone else's. And this is the thing, you'll see on here some pretty regular or irregular first team players here. Reece Bangor Williams, George Evans, Mihailo Ivanovic, Dan Kelly, Adam Mayer, still an under 21 player. Zach Sturge, under 21 player. These players, under 21s, don't count towards this. You can only have 25 of this. That's it. And you have to have a certain amount homegrown. Homegrown doesn't mean come through Millwall. Homegrown means they come through the English youth system. And you can see, most of them's yes. The ones that aren't are the ones that are foreign born. Ballo, Austrian. Tristan Pierre Kramer. Pierre Kramer, obviously from France. Casper Noor from Belgium. Idomu Abraham Emaku. What a name. You don't get many Abrahams these days, do you? Obviously he's from Ireland. Lucas Bornhoff Jensen from Denmark. And then Camille Negley, again from Belgium. But all the other players are homegrown. So there you go. But you look at this, how many of these players are injured? This is how, when you have, 7 players injured, 8 players injured. It's why it's so serious, because you're only allowed 25, and we've only got 24. But, yeah, is this good enough? Are these 24 players good enough? Don't know. You got Femi Javier Aziz, Turno Mamadou Ballo, Stephen Andreas Bender, Joseph Edward Bryan, Joshua Guy Coburn, hi Guy, Joel Coleman, Jake Matthew Cooper, Tristan Pierre Kramer, Maxime Terramoana Crocombe. Is that a Maori middle name? What does that mean? Terry? What does that mean? I don't know. Luke James Cundall, Casper Dinor, Alfie Henry Doughty, Adomu Abraham Amaku, as we mentioned, Kamal Grant, Wesley Nathan Hilton Harding, Lucas Bornhoff Jensen, Macaulay Kevin Langstaff. Now that's interesting. So someone seriously was a big fan of Home Alone. You've got Macaulay Culkin and Kevin McAllister. That's got to be why, innit? That's got to be the reason why. Ryan Ian Leonard, Massimo Corey Luongo, Danny John McNamara, Billy James Mitchell. Sounds like a jazz musician, Billy James Mitchell. Camille Negley, William Anthony Patrick Smallbone, and Caleb Joaquin Taylor. So there you go. That's Millwall's squad, and these are the under 21 players. See, so if Zach Lovelace, the lesser spotted Zach Lovelace, Benicio Baker Boaty, Rahis Meki Elijah Bangor Williams, etc., etc. They're all there. The gang's all there. Now this is the thing, like when you talk about, so obviously they don't tell us how many under 21 players are injured, but when you see an under 21 team, and we saw it the other day, they had a game, yesterday. How many of these players were not involved in that team? They had under 18 players. So how many of these players are injured? So it's not just the first team squad that gets injured. How many under 21 players are injured and weren't featuring in yesterday's thing? Another thing to note as well, though, Adam Mayer is on loan. I believe it's till January. Why is he registered on our squad? Well, surely he should be registered on Cambridge's squad. Is that not how it works? I don't know, but there you go. Here we go. Look at Derek. Derek, Yuri, Jean, Etienne, Mazu, Sacco. Boom. There you go. So yeah, that's the squad as published by the EFL. Is this squad good enough for the playoffs? Don't know. But yeah, don't expect too much in January. We can only have one first team player, and we can have a load of under 21 players. So again, if Alex Neil's wanting someone who can come in and go right away for the first team, yeah, and then Gallen's going to bring in like another 20-year-old, 18-year-old, whatever, So don't expect too much in January, too much. Now, we have a further update from West Kingsdown. This is from Sevenoaks District Council. It's at pa.sevenoaks.gov.uk. If you want to find this yourself, go to the Sevenoaks District Council website, look for planning applications, where you can search for planning applications, and you want to type in TN156AY. That's the postcode that's associated with the land east of Westfield Cottages, Forkham Road, West Kingsdown, Kent, where Millwall are building their new training ground, and it's coming forward step by step by step by step. How do you make a journey of 1,000 miles? Step by step by step. And you just keep going until you get there. Simple as. And we have another condition. So this is condition 4 So so if you haven't been following this riveting planning news, Mill put in planning application 2 years ago. A lot of old, green belt. Oh, don't do it. Oh no, you can't do this. It got through. They haven't done much until they seemingly started getting money from the transfer of, Romain Esse and Fleming. I don't know if the two are connected. Obviously, very expensive what they're doing here. There's a lot of stuff they have to do. All the hoops and red tape that they have to jump through. They got the planning application. Between then and now, this year, they were mostly doing a condition that was requiring, what do they call it? The Millwall Community Trust doing stuff in Sevenoaks. They had to employ someone to go out there and do stuff in schools and that. And they partnered up with Kent Cricket, and they've been doing things like that in the local area. And because obviously a lot of, I don't know if there's a lot, but you do get quite a few delinquents in these places because there's not really much to do, really. But what can you do? So let's get on to what's going on now. Details pursuant to Condition 4 Landscape and Ecological Management Plan. Now this is quite similar to what we've already covered, where they put in a condition where they had to list all of the trees and plants and things that they will be planting. So now what this is, it's about why they're planting it and how they're going to maintain it. Although here's the thing, I don't know who's going to check on all this stuff. Who's going to check on this? Surely it's just you tell them you're going to do something. You make sure you do it, because further down the line, if they do come and check, or if someone grasses you up, then you can get in trouble. I'm sure no one's going to be going along saying, oh, this tree was supposed to be a willow and it's an ash. Oh no, we're gonna fine you or something. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but so we got some documents associated with that. We got a map of the site, and you can see the site boundary, which that's not theirs, but we've got arable land, we've got scrub, water body. There's a little pond in the middle. Where did that come from? We've got woodland, which is down here, W3, that's woodland. We've got tall rudderall. I have no idea what that is. So that's in the middle as well, near the pond. Tall rudderall. And we've got native hedgerow, which is around the edges on the eastern boundary. We've got native hedgerow associated with something of ditch, with bank or ditch, and that's on the other side where the road is. So that's banked and ditched, probably just to make it even harder for people to get in there. You got trees, these green circles with the black things on, that's a tree. A tree with moderate suitability to support roosting bats. Roosting bats, says one tree, T1. It's that tree there, that single one tree is capable of hosting roosting bats. Roosting bats. And this is from June 2022, it says there. So this is the habitats and ecological features from June 2022. Interesting. Now, I believe that this used to be an orchard, but what you will see this every now and then again. You'll see a single tree in the middle of a large field. Now, do you know why that exists? I was told this. It may not be true. It may be like an old wives' tale. Now, back in the day, the ploughmen took a long time because they didn't have the modern machinery that they do now. They would have their lunch, and they would want to go and sit under the tree and have their lunch, because obviously when they're doing all this work it's quite hot and sunny outside, so they want a bit of shade. So that's why you'd often find a single tree, and it's quite a massive tree, it's been there for years, in the middle of a massive field that gets ploughed up. So again, I don't know if that's true, but that's something that I was told. So this is the thing that we've already seen before. They just put it in here again. So all of this is planned. All of this is planned. These are all of the plants that they are going to be planting. Bushes and trees and flowers and all kinds of shit that they're planting. And it's all managed. It's all, okay, this one goes here, this one goes there. They're all different, etc., etc., etc. And then obviously you've got the football pitches, which is the main thing we want to talk about. You've got this ditch where there's going to be water flowing through it, apparently, overflow. And this as well, this M2 on the left-hand side and all that. You know, that's all that there. So they've got it all planned. And they've got this, which is a bit annoying to look at because they've done it in landscape instead of portrait. But yeah. So background and names of the LEMP, management components, implementation of the works, and general ongoing management operations. So yeah, like I said, if you want to read all this, you can read all this. This is just the basics of what's, you know, the plan application, etc., etc. All the rules that they're going to follow. This act, that act, this act. You know, what's there now. You know, this is all the stuff that's there now, and then they go through it. There was an ecological survey that was undertaken in November 2021. That's how long this has been going on for. November 2021. My goodness. Now, the aims of the LEMT are to protect and enhance biodiversity on the site, set out how the landscape proposals within the scheme will be managed to create an attractive, green and welcoming place, ensure functionality of the landscape scheme for users of the site, and create new habitats and open space opportunities for wildlife and residents. Well, that's not going to be happening because it's a private space. Residents won't be. They're not going to be having an open space. So there's an actual satellite image of the place. Satellite, you can see there. You can see the paths where they walk between the trees and the gate. Let's just skip through all this stuff. You know, all this stuff about trees, wildflower grassland. Why are they doing it? You know, woody vegetation, hedgerows, woodland, and scrub planting. Why are they doing it? To give the animals somewhere to live. It's going to be very quiet as well. You imagine, you know, it's going to be used Monday to Friday, and then and then Saturdays, but then Sunday is off. Won't be used in the afternoons, most night times. You know, it's not going to be people there at night. So you can see, look, seasonal attraction basins, rain gardens and swales, pedestrian paths. This is what they're doing and why they're doing it, etc., etc. Implementation of the works, following the drawings. The contractor installs the plants should take care of them for at least 12 months. If any plants die or don't grow properly, they must be replaced within the first year or sooner if needed. The contractor will be responsible for all the work, including providing materials, labour, equipment and supervision to meet these requirements. Make sure the landscape is fit for its purpose and of high quality, and keep everything clean, safe and free of litter. If shrubs or grass areas fail, they should be replaced at no extra cost to the project unless the damage is caused by vandalism or other construction work by others. So there's all that kind of stuff going on, you know. Do not prune whips or feather trees. Why not? I don't know. Crown prune young trees by removing dead branches and reducing selected side branches by 1/3 to preserve a well-balanced head, ensuring the development of a single strong leader and the removal of duplicated branches and potentially weak or tight forks. In each case, cut back to live wood. Prune only during October to January, inclusive, to avoid the bird nesting season. Yes, and it's about watering, chemicals, you use pesticides, etc., etc. All this stuff, you know. Machinery, machines and tools used must be appropriate for the site conditions and the task being performed. Hand tools should be used around trees, plants, and in tight spaces where machinery cannot be used effectively. Protection. etc., etc. All the stuff, chemicals. They have to be registered. The contractor must be registered. This is the thing. They must hold a certificate of competence for applying pesticides, and this certificate must be provided to the local authority before starting work on site. Only certified individuals are allowed to mix, apply, or dispose of pesticides and chemicals on site. The contractor must keep a record of all chemicals used on site and submit a copy to the local authority for their records. So there you go. It's even got, watering the plants, litter collection, maintenance of the trees, etc., etc. Stakes, ties and guards, pruning, fertilizer, mulch, weeding, inspection, all of this stuff, bat roosting there. Assess trees with bat roost potential if going to be subject to management. Any works required to tree T1, as we mentioned on the map, which has been identified as having potential to put roosted bats, must first be approved by a suitably qualified ecologist. So you can't touch that tree until you get a man or a woman with a piece of paper. They've been to college, they're an ecologist. You need to ask them, and they say yes, you can cut the tree. It's fine. Maintenance of woodlands. Do not disturb nesting birds, bats or dormice as part of any works of trees. Seek advice from a suitably qualified ecologist if found. Any tree stumps must be removed outside of the period of November to February to avoid any potential disturbance to hibernating dormice. Coppicing. Understory coppice, once established, split into three and to be cut on a 5-year rotation. So 5 years, this is going on. Now this is interesting. Well, I say interesting, Grass cuttings removed. All grass cuttings are rising to be removed. Why? You can't use it as mulch. You can't. What do you mean removed? From where? You have to remove it from the site. You can't just. You can't keep it there. Don't make no sense to me. All of that. It goes on and on and on. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. It's got now. It's how to maintain this, how to maintain that. All this maintaining. Rotational cuts. For cuts on a 3-year rotation, once established, to be cut on a 3-year rotation to 150 millimeters, divided into 3 groups and cut on a 3-year rotation. Group 1 at year 4, Group 2 at year 5, Group 3 at year 6, etc., etc. And that's for wildflower grassland. Got to cut it every 3 years. Jesus. So you just let it go for 3 years, don't touch it, and then you cut it. And then you have to remove the grass for some reason. Deadwood piles. So you may have seen, if you're walking through a forest with your dog or something, there's a pile. They cut the trees and just leave them there. That's, I assume, for things like wood beetles or wood lice or whatever, things that eat wood, to eat the wood. Where possible, retain some of the cut timber as deadwood piles with timber lengths and diameters in piles located in areas of long grass or scrub. The number of piles must not restrict public accessibility or compromise public safety. So there you go. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. And then we've got a bloody map. Not a map, what do you call this? I don't know. What's the table? So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. And it tells you when you can do each of the things. Pruning. So trees, pruning, watering, fertilising, stake, ties and guards, inspection for pests and diseases, deadwood, firming up, mulch, weeding, inspection, replacements. So whoever gets this contract to be the gardener for the West Kingsdown, they're going to be rubbing their hands. They're going to be there all year round doing all this shit. And then year 1 to year 5, year 6 to year 10, year 16 to year 20, year 20 to year 30. This is a plan for the next 30 years. My goodness. And then we got the woodland, then we got the hedgerows, What else have we got? And then we've got the grassland. And then we've got the mixed scrub. And then we've got the herbaceous shrub planting. Why not? And then we've got suds, ponds and watercourse management. Clearance and desilting. Annual meadow cuts. Check grills, outfills and clear. Deadwood piles for wildlife. Retain cut timber and piles. We just mentioned. Do that in October. So all this shit gets done in October. Removing invasive species as required. Top up surfacing materials required for gravel and paths. Fencing, gates, furniture, litter picking all year round as required. Review and monitoring. 2 days per year is recommended by an ecologist, and again in October. October is very busy. Communication with the public and residents about nature-friendly areas and their management. 2 times per year, spring and late summer. Again, why? Because they're not going to be allowed on site. And here we go. This is it. All fully planned out. What's going to be built. The trees, the paths, the ditches. Here it all is. Fantastic stuff. Here we go. Look at this. Look at what they've done here. Look at all the work that's gone into this. And this is dated June 2022. So this is from 3 years ago. It's been a long time coming, but we're getting there step by step by step by step. And on that note, thank you for watching and goodbye.